Gentlemen and ladies, I guess, welcome to the video and welcome to the channel if it's your first time here. About 8 months ago, I put out a video on the SpyPoint Flex G36, the thumbnail for which is right behind me. And in that video, I outlined the features, did an unboxing, and showed you how to set up the camera for your own use. Since then, I've had it soaking in the woods in multiple different locations, taking photos and videos of different types of game and testing out those features firsthand. So after all that time in the field, was it reliable? Did it hold up? And is it worth your money? Let's find out. Okay, so here's how I'm gonna break down this video. There are some certain topics and features that I wanna talk about in the camera that were advertised by the company, and then we'll talk about how the camera actually stood up to those advertisements and whether or not it came through on those promises. Those specific features include battery life, photo and video quality, detection range and trigger speed, overall durability, the experience in using the app, overall value for the money, and then we'll wrap it up with my final thoughts on whether or not I would recommend getting a camera like this or anything else from the Flex line from SpyPoint in the future. So in that order, we're going to go ahead and start with battery life. Now, battery life is one of the harder ones to talk about because it's quite variable depending on what you're asking your camera to do. I'm checking in with my camera twice a day, every 12 hours, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. as set up in the app. But if you check in more often, like every 3 hours, every 6 hours, something like that, it's going to eat more of that battery life. Also, if you're shooting in video mode versus photo mode, and overall if it's getting more activations or less, not to even start talking about the quality of the batteries that you put in it, I would highly recommend a solid lithium battery AA for this purpose, just because the whole point of a cell cam is not having to go in and mess with it. You're able to set it up and just check it remotely instead of having to move into an area and leave ground scent around and interfere with the wildlife. So with all those variables put into place on my end, here are the results. So I have this listed on my phone, but essentially I installed this camera back in late June, and as of now, early January, Happy New Year, the battery is still at 41%. So that's over a 6-month period, which averages out to about 9% per month. Now, in my opinion, that ain't bad. I was running it on different photo and video plans throughout the year. There were certain times a year where I went back to the free 100 photos per month plan because I simply didn't need more than that. And then there were some points in the season where I wanted video because I wanted to track rut activity and catch deer chasing and stuff like that. So again, variables in battery life are going to lead to different results, but overall, for 9% battery per month, you could, in theory, leave this out on any of these settings for about 10 months before it actually died. So that has been my experience with the Flex G36 battery life. Overall, quite impressed. Okay, let's get into video and photo quality coming from the G36. They advertise 36 megapixel photos and 1080p video. In my experience from video and photo mode, I've had pretty much no issue identifying bucks or sort of like generally scoring a buck as mature or not mature from the photos and videos that I've gotten from my camera personally. That's kind of what I use them for, aside from just like your viewing pleasure, where a nicer, more crisp image is nicer to look at on the eye. The added definition is going to allow you to identify a specific target buck per se, and maybe sort of rough score him from a photo on the camera itself. But overall, really impressed with the way that the photos and videos came out on the SpyPoint camera. As of right now, the G36 camera is on sale at SpyPoint's website for about 90 bucks. I paid a little bit more than that when I purchased my first one, but at the price point of floating anywhere around, $90 to $120, 1080p video is really good and very crisp, and the photo quality is also up to par for that price range as well. I've had no complaints on the quality of photos and videos coming from the G36 camera, even when animals were kind of moving in the photos or dashing across the screen. That more gets into your trigger speed, which we are going to talk about coming up next. We're going to get right back to the camera in just a moment, but I want to talk about numbers real quick. According to my analytics on YouTube, 99% of the people who watch these videos are not subscribed, and most of you are return viewers that are checking out videos when I drop them. So if that is you, please consider subscribing to the channel if you like what you see here. Subscriptions are free and help me out a lot, and if you ever decide you want to unsubscribe in the future, that is easy to do as well, but I am going to do my best to make sure that you do not feel the need to unsubscribe to the channel and keep bringing you guys valuable content every week. So, with all that being said, let's get back into the video. Okay, now a rather valuable stat of a trail camera is going to be its detection range and its trigger speed. So how long after an animal enters frame does the recording or image capture start? And at what range can it adequately identify movement as something that it wants to activate for and then flip on and take that video or photo for you? Now, SpyPoint advertises a 100-foot range for detection, and I have found that to be the case. I'm going to go ahead and roll in a video right now of a little group of does moving across a field edge where they are showing off that long detection range of the SpyPoint camera. This was about at that 30 yards or 100-foot max range, and it was really nice to see that we were pretty much right in there for detection range, and it was very reliably picking up those deer moving across the frame. As far as trigger speed, I have a photo right here of a white-tailed doe pretty much seemingly in full sprint coming across the frame, and she is caught at, single-digit yardage, full frame, full body captured. Now, she is blurry because she's moving across that frame rather quickly. I don't necessarily think that this is the camera's fault, but it is something to note that the shutter speed of the actual camera is going to catch some blur while things are in motion, which is rather natural. They advertise that trigger speed at 0.3 seconds, and in this example and many other examples in my time using the G36, I have found this to be fairly accurate and reliable. Okay, now let's talk about durability. Now, spoiler alert, I bought another G36 camera from SpyPoint and I set it up in West Virginia. And this is where the durability test really got its money's worth. Usually durability is going to be like winter mix, that icy, snowy, high winds, hail, rain conditions that are going to be breaking cameras if they have low durability. That's understandable. In the case of the G36, it actually went up against a literal black bear that tried to eat it off the side of the tree, and it kept transmitting photos. That bear ripped the cell antenna off, and it's got a little puncture hole right here in the illuminator for the IR at night, and that's kind of hilarious that he tried to eat it off the side of the tree. But he was unsuccessful in breaking my camera, which is, a happy little accident sort of durability test, but a durability test nonetheless, and it performed very adequately. So despite all that abuse, it is still functioning just fine up there on the ridge as of right now. I have not brought that one home yet. I actually meant to bring it home with me on my last hunting trip in West Virginia, but I cable locked it to that tree and completely left my cable locks on my desk right here next to me. Oops. Now, along with durability, I want to talk about reliability. I did have a failure to function on my Flex G36 at one point. Essentially, I was getting photos and videos really reliably in the app, and then one day it sent me an SD card format error. And I sort of ignored it to see what would happen if it cycled through its next sync during the next day, and it fed me the same SD card issue. So I went out to my camera in the field, popped open the bottom, and I power cycled it. The test photo came through to my phone, and I left it in the field to keep soaking and keep taking photos and videos for me. Since doing that, whatever glitch in the system happened to happen with the SD card, it hasn't repeated since. And that was about a month in, so we've been about 7 months of no malfunctions from my specific camera. Now, when I read reviews online of the G36, most of the negative ones are talking about SD card issues. You have to make sure that your SD card is the right type of SD card for the camera to function properly, or you're gonna have a bad time. So again, once that SD card issue was resolved simply by power cycling the camera, I didn't even reformat it, which I definitely could have done. I haven't had that issue since, but it is worth noting if you're putting this up in a super remote area that is possibly hours away from your home, and you get that SD card issue, you are gonna have to go out and fix it either by reformatting the card or power cycling the camera itself. So just something to keep in mind. I definitely don't want to gloss over that issue, but again, it has not repeated, which is a good sign. Okay, let's talk about the SpyPoint app experience. Now, this is sort of going to be subjective. If you like the app or don't like the app, it's kind of based on what you like in a user interface. I personally love it. I like being able to open up that home page and see all my cameras laid out, select the camera I want, and then view the gallery inside of that. Now, if you subscribe to the SpyPoint Insiders Club, spend a little bit more money per month on that, you are going to be able to filter by species and get some other cool features inside the app. I've opted not to do that, so I can't really speak to whether or not that is a good value for the money, but I have used the base formatted free app and the free photo transmission plan quite a lot, just for the sake of testing out sort of the bare bones approach to this camera, and I've personally loved it. Being able to just open up the app, see my cameras as laid out in front of me, and then if I want to go in and change settings, I can just click into it with my phone and change, the capture mode if I want photo to switch to video, or if I want to change how often I sync with my camera, or if I want to set it to send me a photo at next sync to make sure that it's functional. All of those features are at your fingertips and very easy to use, and I've really enjoyed the app. In fact, it's so easy to use that even my dad can do it. Gotcha. No, but in all seriousness, the app itself is really simplistic, very easy to use, and gives you pretty much everything you need and nothing you don't at your fingertips to customize the way that your camera is performing in the field for you. So let's talk a little bit about value, what performance you're getting per dollar that you're spending. Again, we already talked about the price a little bit, anywhere from 90 to 120 bucks. There are other cameras for sale on the market for possibly less or about as much money as this, and they lack some features that the G36 brings to the table. Some cameras don't even have an external SD card for you to pull and read photos manually. I like the option to switch off the cellular function of this and be able to pull photos manually. And cameras that don't have it are pretty much a non-starter for me. Also, those cameras tend to have durability issues, function issues, reliability issues, and just kind of a clunkier app system. And it's very rare that you find them with dual SIM technology where they're just going to find the strongest cell signal and use it. Also, most of them don't have free transmission plans, so a lot of pluses going towards the G36 or the SpyPoint environment overall. So here's the big question. Would I recommend a Flex G36 to the average everyday hunter, which is what I am? Yes, I wholeheartedly would endorse these products. A couple of my buddies have actually added them to their arsenal as well and have been loving it, and I can't really disagree with them. Now, it's important to note, I'm not sponsored by SpyPoint at all. They have no idea I'm making this video. In fact, I'm not sponsored by anybody. So if anybody wants to sponsor the channel, email's in my bio. So if you have any questions about the G36, own one yourself, want to share your experiences with it, or if you're running a competitor camera that you think I should be made aware of, please post it right down in the comment section below. I love discussing things like that down there, and that is the best place to do so. Other than that, guys, subscriptions to the channel are free and help me out a lot. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.